In Alabama, all drivers are banned from texting while driving. However, novice drivers are banned from any cell phone use, whether hands held or hands free. Novice drivers are defined as those ages 16 or 17 with an intermediate license for less than 6 months. This is a primary law, which means law enforcement can pull you over for violating it, even if there is no other offense. As we look at ways to address the problem of distracted driving, tougher legislation is certainly one possibility, but is that the most effective means of change?
In putting together this project, we met with many of Madison County's legislative delegates, and tonight we hear from two who say even a good law can only do so much.
We've all been behind that person that's kind of weaving, and you're like, should I call 911? And think, oh no, they're eating breakfast.
I'm on the road a lot, and I am amazed of the number of people that are distracted.
In 2012, Alabama legislators took on one of the deadliest distractions behind the wheel, making Alabama the 38th state to ban texting while driving.
It was very hard for us to pass the don't text and drive.
Really?
Yeah, but because of the debate, well, what if I'm just dialing a phone number? Why is that legal?
In fact, Republican Jim McClendon of St. Clair County worked for more than 5 years to get the legislation through. Early drafts called for a total ban on handheld phone usage, similar to the laws in California, Illinois, and a dozen other states. But as Senator Bill Holtzclaw explains, most Alabama lawmakers weren't willing to take that road.
There wasn't an appetite to go that far, and so we backed off of that and ended up just going with the ban on texting.
Breaking the ban comes with a $25 fine for the first offense, $50 for the second, $75 for the third, and all subsequent violations.
Ultimately, it's on the books, but the penalty is such a tiny little slap on the wrist. I don't think that it is really a deterrent as much as it should be.
Still, Representative Phil Williams and Senator Holtzclaw say amending the legislation to make the penalties tougher or the ban broader may not be the answer.
I want to make sure that the legislation that we have passed has been given its opportunity to work its way through the system.
But again, it's not easy to pass this legislation. Some people see it as putting their personal rights, on the back seat.
There's also the problem of enforcement. Although a primary law, few tickets are actually written, simply because it's so difficult for officers to prove a driver was texting rather than simply dialing a number. That's one reason Holtzclaw would like to see more people make technology work for them. In his own life, he's begun using a text blocking app.
But under the settings, I can edit my message. Hello, I'm driving right now, I'll reply later, Simplify Bill. And so anybody that sends me a text when I'm driving is going to get that response.
Both men believe real change will require a change in behavior rather than a change in the law.
Ultimately, so many people look to the government to solve all problems. And government creates as many as it solves. This is a family issue. This is a parent issue. It's an individual issue.
One more point about the current legislation. It bans writing, sending, or reading a message from any wireless device.
That means not only is it illegal to text, officials say it's also illegal to input an address into your GPS unit while driving. Now here's a look at the law in Tennessee, which is similar to Alabama's. Texting while driving is illegal there as well. However, novice drivers and school bus drivers are banned from any cell phone use, whether hands-free or handheld. And Tennessee could go even further, joining 14 other states that ban all handheld phone use. One representative has already filed that bill.
But in the meantime, Tennessee's Department of Transportation is trying to change driver behavior by asking, what's your sign?
You've probably seen our signs. So what's your sign?
TDOT is once again asking the public to weigh in on the agency's new electronic interstate signs. The safety message contest started with more than 3,000 entries that has now been narrowed down to 15, covering topics from distracted driving to DUI and speeding. Some of the contenders include get the cell off your phone and drive, texting and driving is real smart, said no one ever, and turn signals, the original instant messaging.
The winning messages will run in rotation throughout the state. Voting ends March 1st. To see more entries or cast your own vote, go to WHNT.com and check out the distracted driving page. We've talked about state laws a bit, but at Redstone Arsenal, federal regulations also come into play.
On WHNT News 19, Steve Johnson brings us that story.
Every day, some 37,000 people go to work on Redstone Arsenal. Since 2009 and an executive order from President Obama, people driving vehicles on Redstone have been forbidden by law to use their handheld phones for either calls or texts.
The use of technology, I think, is there for our benefit, but people lose sight of the fact that driving is the most important thing when they're in the vehicle.
It's been 7 years since the phone policy changed for all military bases and drivers using government vehicles. Still, some drivers have a problem obeying the rules.
Well, I think everybody agrees with it, but the problem again becomes that we're so connected, it's hard to put it down. It's not hard to not answer that text or answer that phone call.
For some drivers on base, it's not a problem at all. Sergeant Robert Goki is a member of the Army Materiel Command Band.
No, I don't think it's an inconvenience. A few times I've had to do something, I just pull right over to the side and pick it up and do what I need to do and then keep on going.
For Sergeant Goki, the scary time in the car is when he and his family are driving off base.
It always concerns me when I see a lot of other drivers doing the wrong thing. And it certainly concerns me for my own safety and my family's safety. So it bothers me.
I do not text.
Christy Heath works on Redstone. Her dad was almost killed in a distracted driving wreck on Interstate 65. Christy says the other driver was so intent on their call they never stopped. She likes the no handheld phone rule for Redstone Arsenal drivers.
I think it's a good thing to not be texting, to not be talking on your phone, because it's not, you can't be multitasking while you're driving. There's a lot of stuff going on. You need to focus on driving, not on a text or a phone call.
Don't get the wrong idea. Drivers are still stopped by police for using their handheld phones on base. It's not a surprise.
There's a resistance. Everybody's become so accustomed to using technology that it's hard to put it down. It's hard to become unconnected.
And drivers caught using a handheld phone on the Arsenal face a $50 ticket. When we return, we hear a lot about teens texting and driving. Now it's time to hear from them.
See what some younger drivers have to say about the problem of distracted driving. Plus, movement leads to a moving message. We'll show you the unique way an area dance studio is taking a stand against distracted driving.